So you're thinking about starting your very own trucking or hotshot business. That's one of my trucks you see behind me, and I like to say it can be a very rewarding career and it can be a very terrifying career, and sometimes that is in the same day. There's a couple things I need to let you know about right off the bat before we even talk about starting your business. The first thing is float money. You need to have $10,000 to $20,000 liquid to be able to take care of things and get your startup costs covered. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. The second thing is family dynamic. If you have a lot of things at home that need constant attendance or your constant presence, this might not be something for you, because being home every night or even every other night isn't always a realistic option when you're getting into trucking or hotshot. Third thing is do your research before you run out and buy equipment. I see so many guys run out and buy equipment before they realize that they either can't get insurance or this really isn't for them. So do your research, make sure you have the money you need, make sure that you actually want to do this, and then go out and buy your equipment. There's nothing worse than being stuck with a truck and trailer payment and you either can't get insurance or you don't even want to do this business. Alright, so like I talked a little bit about outside, there's a couple of big things that I see guys go wrong with right off the bat quite frequently. A lot of the times there are issues with insurance, regulations, things of that nature. There is a ton of stuff that is required to own and operate a trucking company, whether it's a dually or a semi-truck. The regulations are pretty similar and extensive. Lastly, the insurance, as I said a little bit outside, a lot of times there's driving record issues, there's safety issues, there's troubles with getting even commercial coverage that people don't realize prior to purchasing equipment. So again, a lot of times, and I've made this mistake once before, I purchased a bit of equipment that actually wasn't able to be covered, and I ended up losing money having to get rid of it, and that's a disaster, basically, right? So to avoid those things, get all your ducks in a row prior to purchasing equipment and making sure you can in fact get coverage. From what I see in this industry, it's getting harder and harder to get insurance for the hotshot style setups, or which is what a Ram 3500 or something similar with a gooseneck trailer. It's getting harder and harder, especially as a startup business, to even obtain coverage for that type of setup. So keep that in mind. One of the other things to avoid is predatory leases. That's where you lease to own a truck, or you're renting a truck from somewhere like Enterprise Commercial or Ryder. Those are very, very, very expensive, and they're designed for these mega companies that have the income and have the contracts to support those type of payments. Starting out by yourself and not really having any customers or any work, those payments come quick and they can drain your reserves dry just like that. As well as that, you need to really understand what you're getting into. If you've never driven before, or you just got your CDL, or you've just been watching Shipping Wars or YouTube videos about how much money you can make in the trucking industry, they're right. Those videos are correct. You can make a ton of money. You can also spend a ton of money. I'm not personally going to get into financials and things of that, because I think that's a lot of, don't think that's an appropriate way to swing the video and swing my opinion. I think from what I've seen on YouTube from creators like that, I think there's a lot of false prophets out there that either aren't running their business legally, they aren't running their business correctly, or from what I see, it's just unfeasible for them to be generating the kind of profit that they're claiming to profit. And great, they're getting good, decent amount of YouTube views, but that's why I decided to shed some light on the company that I own, give you a little bit more of like a realistic expectation. So the other thing that's very important is to understand that this career or this job path, whether you own it or you don't, isn't for everybody. So if you're just starting out and you have never driven commercially before, I would take at least 6 months, maybe a year, to go work for somebody, learn the ropes, learn, if you like it, is this for you? Is this something you even want to do? Do you want to deal with snow? Do you want to deal with all the things you deal with on the road? Well, if you aren't prepared for that, and you are already got your life savings invested in a business, and you decide that you hate it, that's a problem. So I think one of the places where I see guys go wrong pretty frequently is they find out 2 weeks after purchasing equipment and jumping through the 30 hoops that you jump through to start a business like this, that they don't even like doing it. So probably don't make that mistake.
Once you've decided that you have the money, the support, and the drive to give this a shot, next you have to decide what type of freight that you actually want to get involved with. Obviously, I'm currently hauling a 53-foot step deck trailer. That's a very versatile setup with freight. I've hauled cars, I've done heavy haul personally. Just do what pays. You know, you have to research your market, what type of thing you want to do, whether you have some kind of connection with customers already, what they need, whether they're going to need a dry van, a flatbed, a step deck, whatever, you know, that customer's need is, or what load board or customers you're going to try to target. Obviously, if you're a car guy, maybe you want to haul cars, you know, whatever it is. That's, again, going to be on you to do your research, but that's kind of the next step, is then you need to start researching what equipment, what's required. Obviously, if you want to haul fuel, then you're going to have to go through the hoops of getting hazmat endorsement from the company side and your CDL, and that's more hoops to jump through. So the next thing I would say is kind of stay in a lane to start with. Don't go out and try to do 40 different things at once. Don't go out and try to say, oh, well, we're hauling cars and we're hauling water and we're doing this. Do one thing really well. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Don't try to be this be-all, do-all company right off the bat. Do one thing and do it very well, and you'll be successful. That I can promise you. So I decided to come and finish this video in the office, and this is kind of a different video for me. I wanted to touch on something that I'm extremely knowledgeable in. I've been in commercial transport since I was 18 years old in one form or another. And I guess I never really considered making content around the actual business that I do. I obviously am known for like the truck builds and stuff like that. But over the years, you know, you see a lot of people touching on YouTube and making YouTube videos, and, you know, non-CDL people claiming certain things, and it just got to a point where I think you people need to hear like the real side of it. So the real side of it from my chair is, like I said in the beginning, trucking can be extremely rewarding, right? Obviously, it is what has afforded me the ability to, you know, live where I live and have the trucks that you've seen on the channel and things of that nature. However, one of the biggest problems I see people get into is just pure complacency. And what that means is, when you've got a little bit of money in the bank, when you've had a couple good runs, or even a couple great months, it's easy to slip into that I have enough money not to work for a little while mentality. And when you stop working for a prolonged, you know, 2 or 3 weeks or 1 or 2 weeks, whatever it is, it takes a bit to get going again. And if you let it get away from you, basically, you're done. And I unfortunately, at this moment in time, know a couple of people in that scenario, which is a real shame. So that's the main thing. Making sure that you have reserves, making sure that you have some kind of money to operate. There's always something in trucking. I have a work Instagram separate from my J Flat Out Instagram, and the joke on there is that my company is it's always something express, because something's always breaking. You know, yeah, like when you get a brand new truck, stuff's good for a year or so or 100,000 miles, but you have to stay on the maintenance. You have to stay on top of stuff, and it just can get to the point where it's like, I've had months where obviously there's $0 in maintenance, and then I've had months where one truck takes $7,000 or $8,000 in maintenance, which is hard to account for, and it's hard to just swallow that, like, oh, okay, like just what you've got to do. So it is what it is. It's a big leap. It's a very rewarding career. If you're watching this video, most likely you're going to be interested in getting into the hotshot side of things, or the LTL truck. Not a lot of people start with big rigs. So if you are getting into that, just be careful. Everyone and their mom out there is trying to get rich with a Ram pickup truck or any kind of dually pickup truck, and either 3 or 4 car trailer or a 40-foot gooseneck trailer, and you can make good money. I've made good money with that setup, but you just have to be aware that truck doesn't have a legal sleeper. So you're either sleeping in the back of the truck. It's very uncomfortable and not technically legal per FMCSA guidelines. There's loopholes and ways around it, obviously, but just be aware that you're doing something that's technically frowned upon. A lot of states, specifically Arizona, Nevada, I mean, this is kind of my area, so I know for a fact that Arizona and Nevada are cracking down on hotshots very, very strictly. If you're in the business, you know the I-10 between Blythe and Phoenix, and then Phoenix and Tucson, they hate hotshots. And that's because there are so many guys out there with a dually on a Geico insurance policy hauling dollar a mile freight illegally, and it makes it harder for guys that are above board trying to get into the business legitimately to succeed. You know, that's a great stepping stone, but my advice to everybody is once you get into the heavy duty range in the semi truck, it's a whole different ball game. And so yeah, I mean, this was just kind of an introduction video. If you're just starting to think about getting into the trucking industry, or you're wanting to maybe buy a truck, or you're a CDL driver right now for somebody else and you don't really like them, or you think you could do better and maybe you're going to branch out into your own company, great. I support you 100%. It's a great opportunity, and it can lead to a very nice lifestyle, but you just have to be careful with it. Having said that, like I said, if this video does well, I don't want to just hold your hand. There's plenty of places out there that you can learn what licensing you need, what all you need. I'm not going to hold your hand and break it down for you one-to-one. I'm going to tell you how it is. It's very tough on the family. It's very tough if you have newborn kids. It's very tough if you don't have any money in the bank. And running out and getting a credit card, just be careful with it, because it's easy to swipe that card up to, you know, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $10,000, and it's a lot harder to pay it off than it is to swipe it. I mean, just in that Peterbilt that I'm driving currently, I put about $500 or $600 a day in diesel, and you have to realize the checks need to come in to replace that money, and it's just a constant cycle of things. I have dispatcher, you know, I have people that get paid, you know, you have to have that money available to pay them. They don't care if you've gotten paid or not. So there's just a lot of moving parts in this business. This is not a business where you can just get in and give it a go, and if it's not for you, it's easy to get back out of. It's easy, they'll get you out, but it's going to cost you a lot of time, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. So just be aware of that. I want you to have a real expectation of what you're getting into. As I said, wife, kids, newborns, it's tough. It's doable, but you have to have a super strong spouse behind you, and you know, I guess unfortunately not everybody has that. So like I said, if I get some good feedback on this video, and I have no problem making additional trucking videos and things of that nature, I think it might actually be kind of fun. It's a different side of my life and my personality that YouTube hasn't seen before, so we'll see. But I guess if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Myself or, you know, the other people in the industry might jump on and give you some advice. Thanks.